Thank you ever so much to those of you who've joined us during August in particular. I'm conscious there's quite a lot of holiday and leave at this time, so it's good to see this so well attended today. I'm Liam Francis, Senior Account Manager at Capitalise. I'm pleasure to be joined by Nick Richardson, our Head of Funding today. Hi, Nick.
Hey Liam, thank you for inviting me again. Super excited to jump on, and hey everyone else. Hope you are enjoying the summer.
Mm. Yes, and this is the next in our planned series of Building Better Businesses webinars, which is focused specifically on the retail and wholesale sector and how business funding can help both of those industries and the various challenges and requirements they face. Okay, so just first of all, a small bit about who we are at Capitalize. We are not a lender, we're a platform. So we help a lot of businesses find finance at the right time across the UK market. We work with a lot of accountants as well. So you may have another route into us other than coming to us direct. We work with over 130 lenders, and that doesn't mean that we send you to 130 lenders at once. But we have a lot of optionality in terms of who we can approach in the market for loans, asset finance, invoice finance, and more on all of that later. And we also partner directly with Experian and help businesses understand and improve their credit score, and also to monitor their own credit score and those of suppliers and competitors and other parties in the market. So on the agenda today, we'll be focusing on various matters. Nick's going to cover a lot of them, but it's going to be the cash flow gap in retail and wholesale businesses, where the gap bites in terms of stock, late pays, and seasonality. What finance products are built bait for these businesses, but based on these businesses, and also planning for the seasonal peaks and quieter periods. And then there is a section for you guys to ask questions. Please feel free to ask as you go, and Nick and I will take a look at the end and answer any queries that you may have. Okay. Okay. So first of all, there's a huge cash flow gap in retail and wholesale, which accounts. We can see on the left here. There's 22.7 billion advanced through invoice and asset finance to UK businesses in 2025. But there's two sectors and two squeezes. Retail, we have cash tied up in stock, which can sit for months before it sells. And, with wholesale, you're paying for stock up front and then waiting up to 60 days to be paid by customers. Either way, you've got that gap between, money going out the door and hitting your account. So, that is the big challenge that both sectors face. And fortunately, there are a lot of solutions in the market that we work with that can help in that regard. So, Nick, I believe I'm handing over to you here.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. So obviously, this is like a really typical industry where cash flow um, can bite, and it's challenging for various reasons. Obviously, stock can take a long time to turn around. Late paying customers, super common in the UK, especially with those larger blue chip clients that we want to work with. And then not having long supplier terms as well. So having to pay for those upfront and then seasonal demand. So overheads remain the same, but sales dip, which can cause big cash flow problems. Step two. So yeah, look, the products that can help with those cash flow challenges. I'm kind of just gonna run over these and go into a little bit more detail on the next couple of slides. So we really often get businesses come to us and they're like, we need stock finance, stock finance, stock finance, and it doesn't really exist in in isolation as a product. There's a few ways around it, and there's lots of products that can actually fund stock. It is all just kind of like measured up slightly differently. So business loans, for example, like you can just simply get a loan, lump sum fee, and they're quite flexible in terms of like repayments and overpayments and things like that. Supplier finance, so that's something that we've been doing a lot recently. So you're able to basically push back supplier payments on top of the current terms that you have. Um, Invoice finance, so it basically just means that you can get paid within 20 hours rather than waiting on your 30, 60 day terms. With some invoice finance providers, you can actually get a specific stocking line which is separate to your facility. Not loads of lenders do it, but there is a handful that can do it, and you can specifically use that on stock as well if you want to use the invoice finance facility for other working capital reasons. That's solely for wholesale, and then for retail, we've got merchant cash advance, which is basically an advance against card payments. Cool. So one of the biggest pain points that we come across is basically we're sat on stock, and Liam, can you go back a slide? We're sat on stock, and the typical pain point is we're unable to sell it. Well, we are able to sell it; it just takes a long time. So, typical solutions that we put into place here is, a business loan. Now, a business loan works really well for this because there's no early redemption fees. So this might sound a bit counterintuitive, but typically you could actually, for a stock purchase, you could wind up a business loan over 60 months, keep those repayments really, really, really low, but then pay it back after 3 months. And then there's no penalty. You only pay interest for those 3 months. But yet you keep your repayments really low, unlike on a 12-month facility where you have higher repayments but the same benefits. So that's one way that you can use a business loan to help fund stock. And obviously, yeah. So I mentioned that early repayments, supplier finance. I kind of touched on this earlier. You can, if you've already got supplier terms in place, you can stack that on a supplier finance facility, which you can then spread the payments over 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. So it's really giving you that extra bit of flexibility, even if you've already got terms in place. And if you don't have terms in place, obviously it's helpful to spread it out. And merchant cash advance. So these are really helpful because the higher your sales are, the faster it's paid back. So once the stock starts selling and starts going through, you start increasing the sales. So then you can then top up again and go in for the next stock purchase as well. So another big sort of pain point that we get in these two industries is managing creditors and managing your debtors. So invoice finance, again, solely for wholesale, really, really good for managing debtors. It can be confidential, so your clients won't know that you actually use the facility. But it does mean that you're basically just not getting paid in 30, 60, 90 days anymore. You're getting paid within 24 hours. So this is obviously a reoccurring challenge that businesses face because you're constantly trading with these debtors, and those terms are an agreement in place. So being able to minimize that does really help. We often get businesses coming in looking for loans to kind of like plug this gap. And while it does work, this is a much better solution because it's revolving, and it will keep funding those invoices that come in. So supplier finance, obviously already mentioned it, but the reason why I brought it up in this slide again is because a lot of these facilities aren't just used for suppliers. They can actually be used for other creditors as well. So VAT. So typically when you get like big VAT bills, we can spread those out, and PAYE, we can spread out corporation tax. So there's other creditors outside of suppliers that you can use these facilities for. To help manage that cash flow cycle. In some cases as well, if you've got a really long cash flow cycle, so you've got to pay creditors up front, suppliers up front, and then you've got to you don't get paid for 90 days. What you can actually do is you can use these facilities alongside invoice finance as well sometimes. So that way you can really push back suppliers and creditors, and then you can really pull in your debtors as well, saying cash rich, which is proved very helpful for lots of clients. And there's revolving credit lines as well. So basically facilities where you're able to draw down and then use it for supplier payments and creditor payments and things like that. And then the last product that I'd like to mention is Capsize for Business. So you can sign up for free. You'll have limited credit data. However, this is really helpful because if you're looking to onboard a new supplier or you're looking to trade with a new debtor, you're able to run a credit check on both of those and you can actually see their payment performance. So is much cheaper than cost of like borrowing and cost of borrowing capital, and you can just do a little bit of due diligence, check on those suppliers, check on those debtors, and just make sure that like they're good for it basically, and like they are going to pay you on time and they've got a clean record and things like that. So these are just like a couple of things that you can do as a business to help manage both sides of your cash flow cycle. So planning for the seasonal peaks for those that suffer from seasonal demand. Christmas trade, get in early because ironically, it's also seasonal for lenders as well. So lenders will tend to do most of their business in that final quarter of Christmas because all of the businesses need funding for Christmas. So just getting in a little bit early, having a look in September, early October, because otherwise what can happen come like November is the queues are really long. It takes weeks and weeks to get things approved. And I think for a lot of facilities like a merchant cash advance, for example, you could you can set it up now, take a really small advance, but because the facility is set up in the background, come November, if you need a bigger advance, that can be done in less than 24 hours. And it's the same with the creditor facilities as well. You set them up, you're not paying, if you're not using the facility, you're not paying interest. But the second you draw down, you then start paying interest. So getting these things set up early is really, really helpful. And involving the lenders early can just give you a bit more breathing space rather than kind of last minute panic as well. Know your credit score. Again, mentioned you can sign up for free. You can get access to your credit data. This is typically the first hurdle for lending. Now, having a good credit score does not guarantee you lending, but having a bad one can mean that you stumble at the first hurdle. So it's always worth just making sure that your credit score is good before you start looking at funding and you start looking at these and looking at lenders. And yeah, just building a buffer where you can in those quieter months, meaning that you don't have to suddenly purchase when demand is really, really high towards Christmas time. And I think that is over to you now, Liam.
That's correct. So, how can we help you with all of that? So, we have a funding solution via a lender, meant that we have over 130 of on our panel to cover all of your pain points, as Nick has just covered, for stock orders, for seasonal peaks, for late payers, and for tight supplier terms. There are solutions out in the market for every one of them. We have bespoke funding specialists on your side, individuals. You're not talking to a computer, you're not talking to an algorithm. Anytime you submit a funding search via our platform, one of our funding specialists will call you for a 15-20 minute consultation to go through your business history, go through your plans, all your financials. And then based on that, they will take your application out to our lending market, out to our 130 lenders, and put you normally with the four or five best for an application best suited to your needs at that point, and then we'll come back to you. And there'll be a multi-solution approach as well. So if they think that maybe a term loan and an invoice finance product running side by side will be best for you, they'll come back with both of those products and pitch them both to you and explain how they can work at different points of your cash flow cycle, at different points of your stock cycle. What are your next steps? Okay, number one, plan your next stock order. Use last season's sales figures to set volumes and stage of deliveries. Sign up at capitalize.com. Check your credit score. Check your suppliers as well. This is really important. If you are reliant on suppliers delivering to you on time, then we allow you to check on your suppliers' credit scores to see, whether there are any issues there, whether there are any issues with those companies, and you can maybe get ahead of problems. Talk to lenders early. And I can't stress this enough. This is a problem that we run into with businesses all the time. It's counterintuitive, but the best time to look for funding is often when you don't need it or ahead of time. Because if you get to a point where cash flow is starting to suffer, where credit score is maybe starting to suffer, ordinarily that's going to preclude you from speaking to the lenders that offer you the best rates. So if you're talking to us early, if we're going out to the market early at a point when things look sort of a lot healthier and you're using the funding as part of a planned strategy, that is oftentimes the best time to do it. And on that note, book in for a funding review. Take 15 minutes with a member of our team to see what options are available to you with no obligation to proceed. There is a QR code on the screen there, which will take you to the Capitalize platform and allow you to submit your details for somebody to call. So I will leave that up on the screen for the next 10 seconds just to make sure you've got enough time to grab your phones, scan the QR code, and begin your search. So, coming up next in this series of webinars, myself and Daniel Hack, another account manager at Capitalize, will be discussing business credit scores. That'll be on Thursday, the 10th of September. And again, you can scan this QR code here to register for that webinar. And finally, Q&A. There don't appear to have been any questions asked during the actual presentation itself, which means that we were nothing if not comprehensive in terms of what we covered. But if there are any questions now that anybody wants to ask, please feel free to ask here on the Q&A section. And if not, please feel free to pick up with myself and Nick offline. We are both on obviously LinkedIn. You can contact Capitalize using the QR code to get in touch with us, and we'll very happily answer any questions that you may have here or offline. And I'll give everybody another 20 seconds or so if any questions come to top of mind.
Awesome. Thanks, Liam.
Yeah. Okay, doesn't appear we're going to get any questions. So, Nick, thank you very much for your time this morning. Incredibly insightful information provided. And yes, thank you ever so much for everybody for joining. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the summer that is left to them. And I will hopefully see you on next month's webinar. Thanks very much, Nick.
Thanks, everyone.
All
Cheers,
right,
Liam.
bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.